TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, Skype easy for pinch hitting tonight. Skype everyone for coming. Like I said, if I was seeing the Spanish and landers, I would not come in. You listen to that cold player, that's amazing. This is with finals going. Wow. Okay, so the story goes that goes back a few years ago, but this was an actual story. Well, it was an actual story that was printed. I don't know if it actually happened. But some grandmother wanted to get into the Guinness Book of World Records. So what she did was she sat in a helicopter that went over Niagara Falls. She sat in a helicopter that went over Niagara Falls. And Niagara Falls is a place with a lot of stunts. And the helicopter dropped a hoop, and she was hanging from the hoop over Niagara Falls. That's not just it. She could not use her hands. She could have, but she also could have not gone into the helicopter. But she was holding on to the hoop with her teeth and toes. I imagine it wasn't her dentures, because that would have been complicated. But it was with her teeth and toes. She was holding on to the hoop over Niagara Falls. Why did she do this? One Rebbeinu Shalom knows why. But I guess people are desperate for recognition, they're desperate to be counted, they're desperate, period, to have attention. And in Shemayim, they laugh at us. They say, you don't have to hang from a hoop by your teeth and toes on top of Niagara Falls. You stand up to your everyday challenges. You're in Shemayim. They're applauding for you. That's where you're building. That's where you're getting it up there. The breaking news in Shemayim is not that. When the news comes up to Shemayim, when it reaches there that there's a grandmother holding onto a hoop with her teeth and toes over Niagara Falls, they go, Nabach. But when you hear that there's a bacher that really did not want to wake up in the morning, you jumped out of bed, washed Negavas, and went to schacter, so you sat down with your chavrus and you said, I have a final, I can't deny me. So you know what? Final hair, whatever mark I'm supposed to get, I'll get, and you sit down. Whatever your nisyanis are, whatever your particular test are, you're just not in the mood of getting out of bed. And you get up there. That's big breaking news. When we break who we are. So the story goes, I think it's a mashal from the Dubna Magid, or if it wasn't, it's the kind of thing the Dubna Magid would have said. Every army has a band, a marching band. That's and of course, if you know the right people, when you're drafted, you get drafted to the marching band. There are some people that want combat, and the band players, they dress beautiful uniforms. They come marching. If you're ever in London, anywhere in London, you saw the. You never in London? You were there once? Wait, you live in Manchester? Oh, okay. I'm in New York and I never saw the Brooklyn Bridge. I used to when I was a kid. I was in New York. I never saw the World Trade Center. None of my kids ever saw the World Trade Center either. But I'll upon him. So, right, you there once you saw the changing of the guard, right? Because you went to London, you sat down to learn. I know you shall. Right? Why would you waste your time going to watch the? Yeah, right. There we go. Anyone saw the changing of the guard? No. You did? Yeah. So they dress in these like red, nice things, and they stand, and the whole thing is to try to get them to laugh and shine. Right? Now, they're dressed in very, very nice uniforms. So the king comes out and he sees the marching bands and the honor guard, and they're dressed in their ceremonial uniforms, the pom-poms, hanging from their thing. And then along comes a bunch of chevra, and they're dressed in combat fatigues, and their faces are black, and their clothes is ripped, and there's scars all over them. And then along comes a bunch of chevra, and they're dressed in combat fatigues, and their faces are black, and their clothes is ripped, and there's scars all over them, and they're like one cake of mud, and the king goes running toward them and hugs them. And this is the king has seichel. And the guy says, what? How do you compare these? This pasla malchus. He says, these guys are playing in a band. They're honor guards right now. These guys are getting into the trenches for me. So the Yebisha says to the malachim, you guys are perfect. Malachim, your wings are just perfect. You're unbelievable. The malachim have it all figured out. There's nothing to figure out, but hey, You know what an Asayim of Shmir Sinayim is? You know what it means? I have my phone, no one is looking. Someone sent me a clip, I should not be looking at this, right? It's between me and the Bayri Aylam, and I delete it. And the Rebbeinu Shem says, see? They're in the mud. You understand that? They're in the trenches. And look where they're trying. Who has the real ahava? And there are times in our life where we think, I blew it after what I did. Why would David still want me? I know that he wants you. I know he wants you because you're here. Vata mechaya es kulam. So the Gemara, anyone learning that for Yaimi? So, yeah? Learning that for Yaimi? When did you start? From Brachas? All the way, wow. How's your wellness going?
Well,
challenging?
I'm doing my own. So.
Oh, you're your own. Oh, okay. So when you get to Yavamah, so there's a Gemara on Daf Samach Gimel where the Gemara says like this. And sometimes it's Umaitzi Isha Marmi Maves. I have found the wife to be more bitter than death. You have some chasanim, so I have to be careful what I'm saying. And then the Gemara says, Matzi Isha, Matzi Taib. You found the wife, you found good, you found the biggest bracha. So the Gemara says, Rabbi Yehuda was sitting and he was learning with Rabbi Yitzchak his son. And they learned the Gemara, sometimes it says, Umaitzi Isha Marmi Maves. I found a woman as bitter as death. So Rabbi Yitzchak asked Rabbi Yehuda, like who? Which is a very interesting question, no? I mean, if my Rebbe would have learned this Gemara and I would have asked like who, I would have been like sitting by the principal's office and as Amos says, like who? Give me an example, I want to know Pshat. Who's the Moitzi and the Asiyisha Marmi Mava? So if the question isn't weird enough, it's just apparently weird, what did he answer? Like who? Like your mother. That's what he said. Sounds a little, how should we say, then the Gemara says, how could Rabbi Yehuda say that he said to his son, your mother is the example of Maitzin Yaseish and Marmi Lavas? Because the Gemara says also that Ein Adam, and it's the same story, Rabbi Yehuda is learning with the same son, same Rabbi Yehuda. And he said, Ein Adam Maitzah Kairas Ruach. The Gemara says a person can only find Simcha through a wife, through a loyal wife. A person is only a real person, especially his first wife. And the Gemara goes on and on about the praises of a wife. And his son asked, like who? Give me an example. And he said, like your mother. So the Gemara says, who was this mother? Was she the Maitzi Isha Marmi Maves, or was she the Matzi Isha Matzatay? Which one was she? Anyone want to suggest an answer? How could it be the same woman? She's both Matzi Isha Marmi Maves, and she's also Matzi Isha Matzatay. I know you don't have experience yet, but can anyone want to take a crack at it? You don't want to say what you're thinking. I understand you. Okay, so Akapana, the Gemara says like this. The Gemara says that she was the same woman, and there were issues, and they always worked it out. And she always went from Matzin Yisisha, Marmi Maves, to that he couldn't live without her. And this is the powerful lesson. So once read the Pshat, I think it comes from the Malbim, I'm not sure. Matzah Isha, Matzah Tov. Right? Matzin Yisisha, Marmi Maves. Matzah means past tense. God gave me this spouse. Whether it's the woman to the husband to the woman, God gave me this spouse. I have to make it work. I have to try to make it work. If it wasn't meant for me, it wouldn't be my spouse. And all of a sudden you work on it and you find the good. Oh, look what I got stuck with, past tense. That's when you begin to believe like, I could have done better, if only, then you're in trouble. Once you start thinking that way, then you are in trouble. So it says if someone has an Isha Ra, Ein Roya Pnei Gehenna, doesn't see the face of Gehenna. So you know the famous story, right? Shalom, you know the joke I'm going to say now, right? You don't? You always know the jokes I'm going to say. Just because I repeated them 1,000 times. So this guy tells a shadchan, listen, you got to give me a woman that's like the most disgusting, abrasive, person in the world because I want to get a Gehenna discount. It says, right? You have an Isha, because you know the joke, right? It says Isha Roy and Roy Pnei Gehenna. So the shadchan says, I have just the person for her. And they date. She says she seems very nice. No, don't worry, she's the dating. She also seems very nice. There's a whole point to it. I don't want to go to Gehenna. Don't worry. What's the Shana Rishon? Only after Shana Rishon, the Shachar says, I'm sorry. He says, you did a railroad job on me. So finally he goes to her and she comes back and she's there, with her flowers, come in, sit down. How would you like breakfast, lunch, supper? What can I do for you? And he goes, can I mind if I ask you a question? She says, yes, dear. You had a reputation of like being, the most disgusting, abrasive, temper-prone person in the world, right? And I know why you married me, right? And I want you to go to Gehenna, okay? So I am going to be so nice to you, you're not going to know what hit you, right? Okay, so history. So the emes is like this. And sort of the sefer, I think, in Menucha, I don't know what it's called, but it's a murder sefer about relationships. This that the Gemara says, really the Gemara in Yevamos is basically saying it. If someone has an Isha Ra, Ein Ra Yipnei Gehenna. Who's that Isha Ra? And the answer is every Isha in the world. Who's that terrible husband? Every husband in the world. Because there's going to be one day, I'm talking about within normal range, there's going to be one day you are going to be in a terrible mood. There's going to be one day you are going to be, your wife is going to be, and you're going to be the bad. That's being human. The point is that the next day you get over it. Go over it. I heard somebody tell me he was a Talmud of David. He said, you think my father never got angry? He just made sure right away that no one should pay the price for it. It shouldn't hurt anyone. Until he worked it out, which may have taken a fraction of a second. So every person gets this Gehenna discount because there's going to be a day you're going to get a psak. There's no man in the history of Sheishes Mebreshis that didn't get it from his wife. The story said, come up to me for Sheva Brachas. He said, you're making Sheva Brachas? Yeah, and he bangs on his door. Tells his wife, I brought home a guest. He explodes at him, slams the door. He goes, that was the first bracha. Now we're going to the other 6. Okay. But every person in the course of their life, we're going to make mistakes. If you're real, you're going to make mistakes. You're right. If you're calling up American Express and you're calling up a bank, assuming they speak English, that's somebody in the Philippines, they're always going to be nice to you, but there's no real relationship. You're trying to buy a used car from someone, the person's going to be nice to you until you buy the car. But if it's a real relationship, there's going to be ups and downs. And the same, where one day you have your Gehenna discount, the next day you work it out, the next day you just don't get angry, don't scream back, don't yell back, let it pass. And when you get angry, she lets it pass, and that's all. So that's the whole point. The Gemara says, and that's what he was trying to teach his son. It's not two separate people. Given to our own vices, if we just let our tempers go uncontrolled, and you said that to me, I'll never forgive you, and I'll forget, I could have done better. If you go with that mahalach, then we're all bad. We're all that Ishara. We're all that bad person. If we work it out, and we say, no, this is my spouse, and I have to do my best. This is the greatest gift in the world for me. I have to do my best to try to make this work. I am going to keep doing what I have to do. The Gemara tells us about Reb Chia, that his wife gave him a very, very hard time. Whenever he found his sudar, whenever he found something nice, he bought it for her. He said, what are you doing? She says, it's enough. She raises my children. She saves me from chait. So the Gemara says that Reb Chia, if you're learning, you just learn Nafiyami, the Gemara says, you don't learn Nafiyami, it's just in the Sefas Yilomas. But the Gemara says, Reb Chia, when he found a beautiful scarf, he gave it to his wife, even though she gave him a hard time. What does it mean, a beautiful scarf? So the Ben Ish Chai says the scarf was a symbol that the Rabbanim used to wear. It was like a Rabbanish scarf in those days. And Reb Chia attributed all of his greatness in Torah to the struggles that he had in his marriage. He didn't let it get him down, and he worked things out with her. He said, if she would have not been as tough as she was to get along with, I would have never been Zeich Reb Chia. And the same is true for all struggles that we have in our relationships. Vasemis talks about this a lot. I'm having a difficulty with a roommate. I'm not married to the guy. Yeah, that means that whatever I have to accomplish this year, I'm only going to accomplish because I have this difficulty. In other words, the Rebbeinu Shem says, listen, I need you to go through a process where you work things out. I need you to go from Moitzin Yaseisha Marmi Mavis. Now the Arizal says, when it says Moitzin Yaseisha Marmi Mavis, it's lav dafka a wife. Any zivug, any relationship that you have can be Marmi Mavis. I'm walking on the street today, and I passed this guy who was dressed in like those, like army fatigues, an older guy, a white beard. He didn't look Jewish. I wasn't sure. Not that it would make a difference. And he was wearing this like cap that said something about, I don't know what, like veteran. And he was staring at me. When I was coming from Shachas, I'd gone to the drugstore to buy something, and I passed by, and I said, he was looking at me, I said, good morning. He goes, don't you tell me good morning! Well, as soon as you get there, I was turning around. Why does this happen to me? Don't you tell me this morning! Don't you tell me good morning, okay? You should be wearing a mask! He was wearing a mask on his chin, and he was smoking on the street. So I wanted to tell him, okay, I take it back. I really wish you don't have a good morning. Don't worry about it. I hope you have a terrible morning. But I decided to keep it to myself. So I said, look, I needed that. And I tried to, I said, let me go back to shul. Let me go back to the day. Maybe in shul, I was like rude to somebody. Maybe I was a little, somebody wanted to talk to me, I said, I don't have any time, and I pushed them off. I went back, and I think I figured it out. The Rebbeinu Shem lets us know. He says, I'm giving you your difficulties, so you work things out within the context of he could have not been Zaycha to what the Gemara says, the most intimate things, that the Gemara says he could have never reached a shleimus, he would have never found kairos ruach, pleasure in this world from his wife, unless he had the struggles and he worked it out with her. The two are totally zed. And the same is true for all our difficulties in life. So you know that we're all struggling with inflation, right? 92, your dollar is now worth 92 cents from last year this time. That's what it says. Try going to the mikveh with that same dollar, so it won't work. They said a small family, as I read this somewhere, is now, it costs them $340 more a month, and a large family costs them $1,000, would cost you now $1,000 more a month than before COVID started. They call a large family 2 kids. So you could just imagine, right, when you have, and of course a lot of reasons for inflation, right? There's the war in Europe, there's the supply chain, there's the stimulus money, there's the energy crisis, there's the... So I was reading someplace that, a lot of Goldman Sachs, the CEO of Goldman Sachs says we're in for a recession and we're not even there yet and the interest rates are so high and it's impossible to buy houses and so on and so on. You can't even get baby formula. So I was reading someplace, so how do you respond to this? Make the right investments. Invest in defense contractors, and invest in utilities because energy is going up. Invest in companies that produce spirits, that produce, not ruchas shaitim, I mean schnapps, because people are depressed, so they drink more. Invest in companies that make coffee because nobody gives up on that. And I'm trying to think, well, that's so disgusting, you know what I mean? Whoever wrote this financial report is that people are in sorrows, and you're saying, how can I capitalize on it? And I said, no, maybe there's another side to it. Take the problem and work with it, understand it. Don't jump to conclusions. I remember when I was a bacher. So when you're a bacher, you were worried about these things, like your shampoo and soap, no one takes it in the mikveh or in the shower, When you get older, you have bigger problems. So then this guy said, can I have a little shampoo? Yeah, sure, in camp. And I still remember he takes it, and he goes, whoosh, and like half a thing of shampoo. I said, whoa, what does he have, Rip Van Winkle's beard? What does he need so much shampoo for? Just emptied out half my bottle, And he looked at me, and he walks away to the shower, and he gives me back my half bottle of shampoo. Because I was in camp, it wasn't easy to get a new bottle. And I remember a while later, he met me, and he said, I always wanted to tell you this. Wow, about the shampoo. First, I had no idea what he was talking about. And then I remembered. He said, I just came to camp. I was new, and I borrowed your shampoo. Yeah. You remember how I almost emptied out half the bottle? I said, really? I don't remember. I wouldn't have noticed. It was 3/4 bottle, but I wouldn't have noticed. I think it was. So he said, because I'm used to Head and Shoulders, it's much thicker, and you were using like some cheap brand, which is much more watery. So I gave it the same kvetch. It's just that most of the bottle came out. So I say, wow, for 5 years I'm walking around saying that shade. Well, he gave it the same kvetch that he always did. So I said, we have to readjust our kvetch, That's right, good to see it. We have to readjust our kvetch to see where we're holding. So there was a story, there was a pilot that passed out flying an airplane. You read this? And a passenger who had absolutely no experience whatsoever in flying airplanes jumped into the cockpit, took the person, removed the person, jumped the cockpit, and he I guess he had some experience of working the radio because he called the control tower and he said, guess what? The pilot just passed out. There's no other pilot on this flight, a small plane, a Cessna, and it's like nosediving. Can you tell me what to do? What button do I press? That. So far, I only found the ashtray. And somebody talked him down. You thought that things only happened in the movie. Somebody actually got onto the thing and gave him paint by number instructions, and he landed the plane safely. So there's a whole garachka. And they went over to him afterwards. They asked him. This I think is an important insight. Whoever this person was, they said, as you came down with the plane and the plane landed safely, and you're getting the instructions right there and then, what was your heartbeat? So he said, while I was actually flying the plane, it was, say 90, not nishkefellach, he said. Once the plane landed and I realized what happened, then it was like 100, that was 160. And that's an experience as you get older I've had during difficult moments. I've said the story many times. Once I went to Eretz Yisrael right after I was married. We got into this Arab taxi. We were going to Maris Machpelah, and the driver took us into Hebron. And don't ask me, we were Palestinian police. That's a whole long story. And the guy actually pointed a gun to my head. I know it sounds like I like telling stories. I don't like being in stories. The wife said to me, he has a gun. I said, I noticed, grabbed the gun, I noticed. Usually I don't notice these things, I noticed. And whatever, the whole thing with him, I don't get into that story now. But the point was, people asked me afterwards, he didn't faint? I said, no, because he's pointing the gun at me, and I was like one or two things are going to happen, right? Either it's going to be a good story, or I either get to say it down here, or I get to say it up there. It depends on where I get to say the story, right? I said, when I got it, that night I didn't sleep, the next night I didn't sleep, but b'shas maisa, you have a certain koyach that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives you. And this is very interesting. I had a friend, it's a sad story, but he got messed up with something, and he got with a stock trade or something, and he wound up being sentenced for 6 months. And he said that he was going out of his mind. He was going out of his mind, and as much as people were trying to talk to him what to expect in a prison. And so when I went to visit him, I said, when did you calm down? He says, when I got here. Once I was here, the Eibusher should protect us all. Once I was here, I said, okay, this is what it is, I'm going to deal with it. And so Hashem helped me in so many different ways. The fear of the unknown, most of our daigas, most of our fear is what's going to happen, or we have trauma about what happened. But while something is happening, we have a certain adrenaline, we have a certain siyat nishmayin. And once that's shat melech oizer u'mashiach u'mogen. What does it mean, oizer, mashiach, mogen? Oizer, anybody? Hashem helps us, okay. Mashiach saves. He helps us and he saves us. And mogen?
Hurts.
I'm sorry?
Guard.
What's your first name? I'm sorry?
Tzvi.
Tzvi. Yes, Tzvi.
And he guards.
And he guards us or protects us, right? So what's the order? He helps, saves, and guards. What's the procession of where things go? So I said, so Chaim Kanievsky has in a siddur, I just looked it up, he says really beautiful that Oizer, not that he needs my eskana. Most of our problems, we have no idea how many problems in life, we don't know what HaKadosh Baruch Hu saved us from. We have no clue. Ein bal hanes makim, he said 1,000 miracles a day. We don't know, right? You know, the gunman, this terrible tragedy, shooting people up. You don't know how many gunmen are walking on the street and said, okay, you know what, I'm not going to do this, you know. And he was standing right next to you. You don't know that. We don't know that because he didn't do it. We're going to come up to Shemayim after 120 years. We're going to know it. We're going to see. So Melech Oizer, you have no idea how many things Hashem helps that we don't even. U'Mashiach, and sometimes it's Peshet for us to be in the Sakon and he saves us. U'Mogen means the trauma afterwards. That sometimes a person goes through a thing and he can't deal with it afterwards. So Rosh Yochai comes into the cave, right? And they come out of the cave. And they go, we were in a cave. We saw Li'oya Navi. We saw Elam Haba. You have no idea what Elam Haba is. You're insane. You're out of your mind. What are you looking at? What are you wasting our time? In this world, you're crazy, right? And they're burning everything up. And because Baruch Hu said, that's why I let you out of the cave. Go back in. They go back into the cave. They come out a while later. And Rebbe Elazar, Reb Shimon is still burning things up. Wherever he tried to burn things up, Reb Shimon healed. He saw an old man running with 2 hadassim. And he said, you see, look, why are you running with 2 hadassim? He said, one is Keneged Zachar, one is Keneged Shama. So he says, you see what this world is? Let's not burn up the world. Let's appreciate the world. So Ben Yehuda says that hadassim is a school to have children. Hadassim is a school for shalom bayis, whatever the hadassim in, right? No, in many places they have hadassim. Every Friday night they smell hadassim. The place have Havdalah. Certain Sfaradish places have, right? You have hadassim by Havdalah. Anyone has hadassim by Havdalah? There we go. Sorry? In the Kotel, even in many different places. So, what is hadassim? Really, what is hadassim? So, out of the 4 daled minim, hadassim has the reyach v'loitah, right? Because right now I don't have food, but I'm going to make the best scent of it. Hadassim says the Ben Yehuda, there's a school for having children, a school for shalom bayis. He's an old man. What are you doing? He says, no, I'm alive. I'm going to make the best of it. And you don't know what that is to the Rebbeinu Shalom. So Reb Shimon said, you're right. He didn't see Eliyahu Navi. He doesn't know what Elam Haba is all about. He doesn't know what a word of learning Torah is all about. But you don't know how HaKadosh Baruch Hu appreciates the fact that we're trying, that we have an appreciation for life. I want to tell you about my friend Nussi. My friend Nussi works for a diamond company. He assesses diamonds, and they used to go to Antwerp, and then basically, if you know what's going on in the diamond industry, basically the Indians took everything over. I don't mean the Indians with the red paint on their face. I mean the Indians as in India. So now his boss said, you got to go to India to look at the diamonds, you know, before he buys them. So it's not so geschmack to go to India, and he stays in a place, and he knows where the Chabad house is, and he stayed in a hotel, and he had an incident He had an interest in walking on the hotel. They started chasing him, free Palestine, something like that. He thought this is it, and an old lady came out of nowhere, and she walked him all the way to the shul. Like your imagination goes, Sarah's Bazasha, I don't know, Mrs. Eliyahu Navi, I don't know who said whatever it was. So he promised his wife. His wife said, I'm not letting you go unless you promise me that you stay in the hotel room the entire Shabbos. Okay? He wasn't very happy about it, but he stayed in the hotel room. In the actual hotel, there's security, there's whatever. And he had ordered from Chabad that they deliver you your food for Shabbos. It comes with a package. You get all from soup, the nuts, the chont, all the things you need for Shabbos. Herring, gala, zwiebelkugel, zwiebelkugel is whatever you have. And Lamaisa, what happened was, the last minute, the ceiling tiles caved in and it was pouring in his room. Came pouring in. So he called the room server and they came up and they said, whoa, okay. We'll take you to a different room, okay? And they said, don't worry about it, we'll bring you up to a suite. We have we'll give you a real good room, like to make up for the fact that his room was under pipe attack. So he went up to this other room and they closed the door. Now, you can't, it's already Shabbos, you can't open and close these doors on Shabbos because it's all electronic. So once you're in, basically you're in the room, unless it's a Kodesh Tefashis, you're not leaving the room, right? And they close the door and it's like 10 minutes of Shabbos and he realizes he doesn't have the number to call that should deliver the food here, and a couple of minutes it's going to be the Zman, and there's no food for Shabbos, he has nothing. And before he's trying to find the number, it was already the Zman. So he was really down. Here he is, he has to do this for Parnasa, he's away from his family, he's like really tzabrachin, and he says to himself, but it's Shabbos. So he says, should I get dressed for Shabbos? For whom? The four walls? He said, all my life I get dressed for Shabbos. But why? Am I really getting dressed for Shabbos? I'm not going to walk at the shul with dungarees and sneakers, which he doesn't wear anyway during the week. But I mean to say, I'm not going to walk on my weekday clothes in the shul, right? It's really my culture forces me to dress for Shabbos. But this is going to be the first time in my life that I dress for Shabbos, l'shem Shabbos, because there's no one here to see me. What? In COVID, right, there was a lot of, but then there was Zoom and other things, okay. And like we said, some people isolate together with others because it's more geschmack. So he actually went, so he said, you're right, Shulman, COVID said. So he said he put on his clothes for Shabbos and he straightened his tie and everything else. And he said he really fell out between me and Shabbos, right? This is surreal. There's no one here to see me. No one's going to know. And then he said he spread like a little handkerchief over the small coffee table, make it look a shop. No. And then he said he spread like a little handkerchief over the small coffee table, make it look as Shabbos-like as possible. And he had I don't know what he had. He said he had a box of Pringles or something. He put it on my Shabbos Suda. He had a little bottle of beer. He said, okay, that's all my Kiddush on it. That's my Shabbos Suda. If this is what it is, I'm going to make it work. And he told me a fascinating thing. He is a tremendous Baal Tefillah. He's a gorgeous Baal Tefillah. I daven in a big shul, and not everyone gets to daven for the Amid there. And I get daven for the Amid many times, but only when no one's in the shul, like middle of the night. But when people are there, they don't give me the Amid. And I said many times, I was in a bungalow colony once, and someone said, can you go over and daven for Sheikh Hanad? I said, I'm really not much of a Baal Tefillah. Go over, and I went over. I thought I did pretty good. He came over to me after, he said, I see you're an Ish Emes. He said, you're not a Baal Tefillah, you're not a Baal Tefillah. So he said he put on, he got it, he said, he made himself like a stender, popped up a bunch of pillows on one of the tables, and he said, I'm going to daven now the way I daven as if I'm davening for the Amid. It's between me and Shabbos, right? Who's going to hear me? I'm always davening for people to hear me. This is the only time I'm saying. And he said he sang L'Chadaydi, he sang the most beautiful niggun, and he went through the whole Kabbalah Shabbos, everything the way it should. And then he's going to sit down to his beer, and someone knocks on the door, and it seems that whoever was supposed to deliver this Chabad package figured it out, that their room was very high in water, and they tracked him to his room. So at the end of the day, they came in with, he had all his food for Shabbos. has food. But he says, those couple of moments, I have nothing. And it's to me in Shabbos, he says he looks back at it, and he feels that davening for the Amid was the most significant davening for the Amid in his life. It was just, between you and me. And Reb Shimon is all alone in the cave. And as far as Reb Shimon would be concerned, he would be all alone in the cave forever. There was no way out of this. I'm going to make it work. This is where I am. That's really what Lag BaOmer is all about. So I read today, in the Dirshan, they put out a beautiful thing. The cave in Miron is where Reb Shimon is buried, that we understand Reb Shimon is buried. But where's the cave that he was hiding in from the Romans with his son? And Eliyahu Navi came and taught him Torah all those years. Where's that cave? So they say it's in Pekian. That's what the tour guide say. Some say the Arizal said also there was there. So the Satmar Rebbe once went there, and apparently he understood that it's for real. That cave, there is a cave in Pekian, and that's where Rav Shimon Bar Yochai sat and learned with his son all those years. And they were going to the cave. The Satmar Rebbe, the Riyal, was going to the cave together with his entourage, and there were no roads there. It was very difficult to get down the hill, so they picked up the Rebbe on a chair and they were carrying him down. So Yom was like a little bit giddy. When they finally got to the cave, this big cave, this Gershon Kaufman is the famous tour guide, and I don't know if it was him or someone else. I remember as a bacher, we were going someplace. He goes, "Don't step over there." And why? I thought an animal, He said, "No, there are mines over there." Where are you taking us? I could have stepped in a mine. Okay. So there was threatened he said. So the cave, he said, this is the cave. This is the Messiah. This is the cave in Pekin where Rav Shimon Bar Yochai learned with him. And the opening to the cave was a very small opening. So the first guy that showed up there was a guy, should I say, he was Adam Gadol, and you know what I mean to say. And he had the extra, extension suspenders. And so everyone laughed. They said, And he also made some kind of joke, like he said, if I was running away from the Romans, I'd be in big trouble because I can't get into this cave. Somebody said, maybe a nest would have happened, would have opened up. There was some kind of joke going between the two, good-natured. And the Rebbe heard it, and the Rebbe went over and gave him a smack, which was not uncommon. It was his close, he only did it to his close people. It was the same. So you don't talk that way of him. You don't talk that way of him. I never heard this aside about Lag BaOmer. Every year you hear something else. He says, the Arizal says that to a great extent, Rav Shimon Bar Yochai was in the Shama of Moshe Rabbeinu. And Moshe Rabbeinu, after the Chet HaEgel, his most intimate moment with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, come to the cave, right? Moshe said, Reini nos kodecha, show me your kavod. And Moshe Rabbeinu said, come to the cave, stand by the cave. And in that cave, Moshe Rabbeinu saw Hashem to the extent that a human being can see Hashem, that it's possible to see it. But no one can possibly see more. He says, Rav Shimon Bar Yochai, in this cave, this was a facsimile of what Hashem showed Moshe Rabbeinu in the cave, to whatever extent it would have been possible for someone on the level in that time period to be able to see Hashem. He says, because some say that Moshe Rabbeinu, the Eibishter buried Moshe Rabbeinu, and nobody knows where he's buried. So the way Moshe Rabbeinu says, but I'd like for Yidden to come and daven and don't leave me here alone. So the compensation to Moshe Rabbeinu is that his neshama is also Rav Shimon Bar Yochai. And that's why by Rav Shimon Bar Yochai, dafka everybody comes, right? It's dafka the place. It's sort of to compensate Moshe Rabbeinu that you can't go there because you don't know where he is. It's a Inyan. So Rav Moshe Aryeh Freund, he later became the Rav in Yerushalayim, I think, and he said that the Rebbe, that there's a medrash that says that Eliyahu Navi comes to this cave where Rav Shimon Bar Yochai was, and he's mispal al golas hashchina. He's mispal for the geula. So Rav Gamliel Rav Nava says the whole story, and he says that people should go to this thing. People go there to daven. So let me put in my own 2 cents over here, even though it doesn't. I think we're all in this cave to a certain extent, right? There's a point in our lives. Where am I going? I don't know where I'm going. I'm stuck. I never felt so lonely in my life. Okay. Rav Shimon Bar Yochai could have never become Rav Shimon Bar Yochai had he not been in the cave. But I don't have a solution to my. He didn't either have a solution to his problem. But I'm going to be stuck in this matzah forever. I see no conceivable way out. He didn't either see a conceivable way out. Those are the moments that what appears to be the biggest klola in our life turn to bracha. So fascinating story. Thank Rav Daniel Karen for sending it to me today. Rabbi Chaim Oizer, a bacher comes in and says, Rabbi, please, I'm about to be drafted into the Russian army. And as you know, being drafted into the Russian army is not always the most. I'm not going to say who came in now. Just say Shalom Aleichem. I'm not going to say a name because I don't want anyone. I appreciate it. So, right, Shlomi? I didn't say your name. Okay. No, I did it again. Okay. I don't know who he is, right? You don't know which Shlomi, right? Same joke every week, right? Okay. No, I appreciate it. So, Reb Chaim Moses, Baruch Reb Chaim Moses, please get me out of the Russian army, please. For a year in the Russian army, the question was whether he would be stabbed in the front or stabbed in the back. That was the only question. And Reb Chaim Moses said to him, "You wearing tzitzis?" No. Usually wear tzitzis? No. Put on tefillin? No. Usually put on tefillin? No. Shabbos? No. He didn't want to lie to Reb Chaim Moses because he thought the bracha won't work. So he was sure it was all over. So he said, you come from a frum house. Yeah. But Rebbe, so does this mean I'm going to the Russian army? I'm done for? So he said, this is what Reb Chaim Moses said to him. Listen to the godliness. He said, whoever's going to examine you to take you to the Russian army, oh no, here it goes. Listen. Whoever's going to examine you, whether or not you're coming into the Russian army or not, I hope they will be as disappointed in you as I am. So nicely, he came back 2 weeks later. He said, I walked in, they go, this is who they're sending us? We're so disappointed. Goodbye, get home. Mamish mimicked Reb Chaim Moses' words. Because actually that would have saved his life. So he said, I just want to tell you I'm wearing tzitzis, and I put on tefillin, and I am holding Shabbos. Right? He could have said, shake it, some nerve you have to come here. He didn't say that. He took the problem and turned it into the bracha. And I think that this is something we can do in our lives. You know? My eyes saw yesterday, forget about it. Coming to Lag BaOmer, yeah, sure, tell me about it. Take your problem and say, turn it into bracha. There is a way, and every klola on this world, even in Ruchnius, every downside represents a potential bracha. If Hashem Mechai would have been caught by the Romans, on a good day they tortured people to death. Right? As long as the Kaiser is alive, no food, no phone, no nothing. How am I going to survive in this cave? So I want to tell you something. I know people that are driving around, what's that big car called, the Yukon? Yeah. They have corporate jets. I don't know too many, I know some. They have a 50-room house, and they're locked in a cave. They're locked in a cave. They're struggling in life. They're living in fear. They're living in... Hashem Vaychai says, you're locked in emotionally, you're locked in the cave, okay? Turn that into bracha. It says in Zerah Shimshon, Ish Asher Beberchasai Beirachaisan, he says there's a tziner bracha for everyone. Sfasemis also says it. There's a bracha, everyone sitting in this room, everyone listening, there's a special bracha Hashem has cut out for you. In order to access it, you have to go through a moment that you're alone in a cave, you're alone in a hotel room. You're alone like, I can't believe this happened to me. You know what, Hashem, it happened. The Midah of Haid, every week of Sfira has a different Midah. The Midah of Haid is this week. It's the week of Haid. And Haid Sheba'Haid is Lag BaOmer. It says the Sfas Emes, Haid is also Chanukah. Where do you light the Chanukah light? On the left side. It says in the Arizal, Haid is on the left. What does it mean, Haid is on the left? He says, Haid is the moment of life. This is what it is. We're all in a cave. Now, a lot of people are struggling with Lag BaOmer this year because we grew up our whole life, Lag BaOmer, Yeshuas, Simchais, Nachas, right? And how could have Lag BaOmer happened last year? Imagine what these families are going through this year, the first year outside. And someone sent me I'm not into watching clips, so someone sent me an amazing, but a grandfather of someone who lost two Einiklach, maybe he was a father, I'm not even sure. Two brothers died, Lag BaOmer, and he's sitting by the caver on Har Menuchais, and they're singing Bar Yochai. And I'm saying to myself, can only be one B'nai Maminim that are Maimin in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. How do you understand that? How do you take questions, no answers? And you know what, Rav Shimon? I don't know. I don't have to know. And it says that until the week of Haid, this week, particularly Lag BaOmer, is a mesugal time that in your life, you take that moment, you feel like you're in a dark cave, where there's no way out, whether the problem issue is shidduchim, whether the issue is marks, whether the issue is family, whether the issue is health, and you say, I wanna, whether you're locked in a hotel, I'm going to daven for the Amid like I never davened before. Because it's between you and me, and things happen that never happened. So many years ago, I remember that before my mother passed away, she asked me to do something for her, and I never wound up doing it, and it bothered me to no extent. And I woke up one morning and I said, I really got to do this. Whatever she asked me to do, it was a personal thing, and she asked me to make a call, and I never did it. And I woke up one morning and I said, today I'm doing it. Today I'm doing it. It's already a year and a half after my mother passed away, I'm doing it. And I don't know if you remember this, and again, it's a long story, but there was a bank called Independence, and they changed to Sovereign Bank. It was a private bank that became public, and if you had money in the bank, you were able to buy shares. You buy shares in a bank that's becoming public, you're bound to make a lot of money. And people do long lines, everyone knew about it, you know what I mean? And like everyone's buying shares. And I was running from bank to bank, and I said, today's the last day to do it. So I wound up going to a bank in not a very Yiddish neighborhood, where there was no long line on there, no one knew, right? And I'm getting online, and I'm saying, I really should take care of what I have to take care of for my mother, right? I really have to take care of it. And no, I don't. I shouldn't even be in this neighborhood now. Why? I said I'm doing it today. I should have done it. Well, it was the last day to take care of this stock thing with a banger. I picked myself up. I started walking out. I really felt bad for myself. And as I'm walking out, someone was running after me. And I got really nervous. It was an African-American woman. She was like chasing me. I said, what she want from me? And she says, fischel. What? And I turn around. I see it's my mother's aide. I say, oh, hi, how are you? Yeah, wow, fancy meeting of you. And she goes, yeah, we're talking for a while. How are you doing? And she says to me, by the way, I was just curious, because she was there that last day. Do you ever do what your mother said you should do? And I said, I get it. You know what I mean? Out of all people to meet in this neighborhood, like to make this connection to this person. I said, the Rebbeinu Shem knows where you are. You could be in a cave. There's no place to hide. And that's what Lag Boim is all about. It's to take that moment where you want to throw in the towel and say, the door is locked and I have no food and I give up and I'm not getting dressed for Shabbos, and say, no, you're getting dressed now is what's going to bring Eliyahu and Navi. Thank you very much. Wonderful Lag Boim.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.